Hey guys, Miles from Nexus Corps here, bringing you a Dimension Police deck profile. So, y'all know that Jose and I went in on we went in on several boxes, but I finally finished the deck, and I've been procrastinating and dealing with school and work, so I now have the free time to give you the deck profile. So, here we go. Your starter is pretty obvious. It's Dimensional Robo Daiyusha. You know, it's just the basic on-ride draw. Upon road draw. Upon ride. Then the grade 3 lineup is 4 Ultimate Dimensional Robo Great Daiyusha, one of the SVR. Richard, roll the clip when we pulled that. So what he does is when... Let's see if you guys can just like read the image. When this unit is placed, your entire front row gains 10k. Like 3 units of your front row gain 10k. And then its other skill is while it's in the hand, if your grade 3 Vanguard attacked, and if its power was 45k or greater, and you did not ride this turn, then Counterblast 1, and you ride this card from hand, and then this card gains 10k. So, basically the combo is that you already, it's not much of a, I mean, I guess it is, but the order of things would be, you have your... Yeah, whatever. This is the other one. Super Dimensional Robo Daiyusha. I run 4 of them. Its skill is, if its power is 35k or greater, then it gains a crit on continuous. And its other skill is once per turn, act, rest any number of your rear guards, and this unit gains 10k for each one rested. So, if you really need, like, if you have Great Daiyusha in hand and you don't think you're going to be able to get to that 45k, the rest helps you like easily get there. You just have to sacrifice some of your offensive capabilities. Also, this card just on its own for like the 35k and a crit, it makes for a really good early game push. Like I've knocked people from like I got pushed by a Grand Blue player to like 4 or 5 damage and he was still at 1, and I did wind up winning with Great Daiyusha, but I got him from like 1 all the way to like 4 in the following turn when I just pumped up Daiyusha. So I was like, oh no, I'm gonna lose. And then all of a sudden, he's got like a low hand size and he's at 4 damage. And I was like, oh, never mind. So the play is basically, when you ride, your Daiyusha, and it doesn't matter. When you ride your grade 3, you're gonna get your gift. So that's sitting at 23 alone now. Let's move all this stuff out of the way. Looks more clean. So the following turn, if you somehow reach 45k, you ride on top. Now this unit is sitting, Great Daiyusha now is sitting at 23 plus the 10k from his on-ride skill, or from his superior ride skill, so he's at 33. But because he was placed, also, your entire front row gets another 10k, and because he was placed again, you get to acquire another gift. So the turn that you do this combo, it's going to be 13, 23, 33, 43 from its own skill, and then 53 from its first skill. And then your front row is going to be at least 23, at least like plus 10k additionally. So the turn you do that, it makes for some pretty good offense. Like, if your opponent doesn't have that much shield, they'll wind up taking it. It's not as threatening because you don't have the crit on it, but it's the fact that you have 3 attacks that are all powered up, and you already made 1 Vanguard attack. So it's like, your opponent needs to worry about 2 Vanguard attacks, 1 swinging for over 50k, and then they also need to worry about 2 rearguard attacks that are going to be like, presumably, over 20k. Like, they're going to have to drop, like, 15k or more shield for them. So, yeah, there's also the Miracle Beauty build. I think I'm going to do a video on that just to show off what the deck does and, like, what the lineup is. But I'll leave my criticisms for the deck in that actual video. Moving into the Grade 2 lineup, we have Dimensional Robo Die Dragon. So this card's skill is once per turn, Vanguard or Rearguard, you can Soul Blast 1, and your Vanguard gains 5k. And then its other skills, if your Vanguard's power is 35k or greater, this unit gains 10k. So that's another thing, like, if these are in your front row while you do your Great Daiyusha play, you're definitely you're definitely reaching these guys' 35k or greater criteria. So these are going to be at 10, 20k just because of that, and then when you place Great Daiyusha, they're going to go up to 30k, plus whatever boosts you may have, and triggers, of course. Because again, you have 4 opportunities to trigger and power them up. I've had a rearguard swing for over 50k one time. That's really satisfying. And the Soul Blast skill is one of your like main methods of, you know, pushing from that like base 23k, because again, you put your Excel gifts on your Vanguard, so your Vanguard should never be at 13k on your turn. Your grade 3 Vanguard should never be at 13k on your turn. So it's push your 23k Vanguard up to 28, and if you have 2, it pushes them up to 33, and then, you know, you follow up with Daiyusha's skill once or twice, or you use another skill with the grade 1. There's a grade 1 variant of this, and there's also another grade 2 I'm going to go into, but like, there are multiple ways to ensure that your Vanguard gets up to the power it needs to be, to 1, for Daiyusha to gain that crit, and 2, for Great Daiyusha to meet that the superior ride criteria. I've been in situations where I haven't exactly, like, I've had to hope on a trigger, and they're just like, oh, I PG either way. I'm like, okay, I'll fix Vanguard, and then I obtain it because I'm at enough power. But that's just like a bad luck, you know. That's kind of what you subject yourself when you play this game, and that's, you know, the deck has to have some kind of downside usually. So the other grade 2 is Cosmo Beak. This card, Jose said that's unprofessional, or people don't like that. So for Cosmo Beak, this card is, when it's placed onto rearguard, you counterblast 1, and this unit and your Vanguard gain 5k. So, initially I wasn't going to run this, but also initially I was doing the Miracle Beauty build, but I realized how integral it is to the deck, because your 2 other cards, Die Dragon and a grade 1 I'm going to show you eventually, they both have the same skill of Soul Blasting 1 and giving your Vanguard power, but there were a lot of situations where the fight would start to like drag on, and I needed to power up my Vanguard, you know, to meet like the superior ride criteria or just general power-ups, and I could not power them up because I had no soul. But this deck doesn't really burn through Counterblast that much, and so Cosmo Beak's super useful because it uses a Counterblast instead of a Soul Blast, and, you know, technically Counterblasting is a renewable resource, through like healing and then taking the damage again, but there's no reason for me to actually say it. This deck doesn't have a countercharge engine, so disregard that. But yeah, it's just the fact that you can call it, and then it self gains power, and you also give your Vanguard power, so off of a counterblast. So you can kind of juggle Soul and Counterblast together in this deck, and that makes it pretty solid. And then my last grade 2 is for Miracle Dandy. I initially was going to do Grander because I thought that, like, oh, all of your rearguard should, you know, be powering up themselves, or like, you know, they just like, yeah, like, or Miracle Cutie, you know, like, oh, if she has 30k or greater and she hits, you get to draw. But then I realized, like, oftentimes your opponent is going to take your Vanguard in this deck just because of how big it is, and then they're going to focus down on guarding guarding your rearguard attacks. Miracle Dandy. So, okay, here's the main reason. I run 8 draw triggers in this deck because I want to make sure that I see, you know, Great Daiyusha, and I see, like, yeah, basically just I want to keep seeing Great Daiyusha, or I want to see other combo pieces, like more Cosmo Beaks that I can call eventually to, you know, gain more power, just stuff like that. But, that leaves, you know, a lack of the 15k shield, or, yeah, that leaves, like, a lack of the 15k shield that crits give. So Miracle Dandy's skill is if your Vanguard's grade 3, or greater, because we now know grade 4s are a thing, this card gains 10k shield on Guardian Circle. So if you guard with it from hand, or if you intercept it with it from the field, it immediately gains that 10k, provided you're just on your main grade 3, like, or on your main Vanguard being any grade 3. So it becomes a 15k shield, and this card has helped me so much in the defensive, in, like, defensive situations. Like, I have had, like, no crits in hand, no heals. I've had, like, a PG, and then, like, 3 of this guy, and I remember, I think it was Jose, he's like, what's your hand? He's like, oh, yeah, you're gonna lose. And I was just like, why? He's like, you only have, like, you know, 30k in hand, and I was like, no. and I start guarding with these guys, and the plus 10k shield helps immensely. So just a little bit of like a defensive aspect. Also, again, Grander just gaining a 5k, it's like Cosmo Beak does that too. Die Dragon does that, but better. And Grander, I believe it requires your Vanguard to have a crit, so or an extra crit, so it doesn't even like work on Great Daiyusha. Like once you go to Great Daiyusha, Grander is nothing. And then Miracle Beauty, yeah, the on hit is super useful. I've seen it help a lot, like watching one of my friends play. But I prefer Miracle Dandy because the plus 10k is like it's guaranteed if you're at grade 3. Like you literally just have to play the game and not get grade locked, and then it's guaranteed. So 4 of those. I don't know, I just do like the 4-4-4. It just feels more consistent for me. Helps a lot. Moving on to the grade 1s then, I've got 4 Dimensional Robo Die Brave. So this is the like grade 1 Die Dragon. So the first skill is the same thing, you know, Vanguard Rear once per turn, Soul Blast 1 and your Vanguard gets 5k. But its other skill is when your Vanguard hits another Vanguard, you shove this into the soul and draw. So this is super useful because some plays you can do, it's like, if you have Great Daiyusha on the field, and you're like, oh shit, I need to hit that, you know, extra power, and like I've already used like my 2 Die Braves, then what you can do is like, okay, so my Vanguard's at like 23, then I'll use Die Brave skill, put it at 33. Okay, now skill rest, he's at 53, so I meet the criteria, he's got a crit, and it's like, oh, if they let the attack through, there we go, and I get to draw 2 off of that. So it's like, it supplements the loss for them, and you know, it gives you potential shield to like work through the next turn. Or it can actually help draw, you can actually top deck into Great Daiyusha and use it in that moment. So definite 4 of, super useful. I can't think of like a really like better grade 1 for this deck. I think this was like really needed. Then we got the man himself, Commander Laurel. He's a strict upgrade from the previous one, he's a 6k now. But his skill is act once per turn. You counterblast 1 and you rest 4 of your rear guards. You can rest this one as well. Pick one of your units, and until end of turn, you double its power, and it gains 1 additional crit. So if you really are in a bind, and like you really need to reach that, you know, you have no soul, or like very little counterblast, you have no Cosmo Beak, and Cosmo Beak isn't enough, you can just use Laurel to pump up your Vanguard to at least 46k, and then oh, and you also, you don't double its like base power. If it has any power ups, those get doubled as well. So if I like take my grade 3 Vanguard on an Excel, I've been saying Excel this entire time. I just realized, I'm sorry, it's Force. That's my bad, guys. This is my first Force deck, you know. If you do like, you know, 2 Die Braves on Great Daiyusha, or like 2 Die Braves on your Daiyusha, it goes from the 23 on the Force Circle to 33 because of the 2-5k. You boost that up. It doesn't just gain like the 13k from its base power. It doubles all of that. So it goes from the 33 to the 66. And then, you know, 3 criticals, which is pretty nice. So yeah, it's like, it's super helpful if you really need the push to get to Great Daiyusha. When I was using the Miracle Beauty build, having him was going to help out a lot, but what happens when you listen to Richard. Alright, I got 4 Dimensional Robo Die Mariner. Personally, I'm not a fan of this at 4. I think I might take it down to 3 or even 2. And like maybe try out I don't even know, like 1 more Dielander. But it's useful. Its skill is when it's placed, you can Soul Blast. Yeah, when placed, Soul Blast 1, and choose one of your Vanguards, and when your opponent would call a Guardian from his or her hand to the battle where that unit attacked during this turn, he or she must call 2 or more cards at the same time. That doesn't mean that, like, if they guard with 1, they have to guard with another. It literally means that, like, they have to play 2 by 2. Granted, you're supposed to, like, you know, guard with everything together, so it is worded weirdly, but basically what it means is that your opponent cannot guard with just 1 card. So if they perfect guard and then discard, they do need to guard with 1 more card. That's kind of the only practicality it has. I thought like, oh, well, if your opponent's guarding with triggers, then they're obviously going, or like, you know, if your opponent isn't perfect guarding, then they're going to have to drop more than 1 card against this deck. As you saw, Great Daiyusha, fuck. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, the camera didn't stop. Okay. Richard, cut that out. Anyway, as you saw, Great Daiyusha, the turn you use him, he reaches up to 53k. So your opponent, if they're gonna guard that, then they're going to be guarding with multiple cards, if not a PG. So if they do, you know, so that's why I'm not a fan of it at like 4. I feel like it's just not super necessary. If y'all have any other recommendations, like I was thinking about kicking Laurel up to 4 and then like, you know, keeping this at 3. But I have never really been in a situation where using this has actually like really altered the game state. Like, yeah, the discard after a PG, I mean, the fact that you have to PG, discard 1, and then guard with another is pretty good, but like, the cards already hit, you know, your units already hit such high numbers that like, it just feels like the one extra card has never seemed too dramatic of a change. So this will, I don't know, when this deck gets more support, I might like, this will probably be one of the first cards to take out. I just feel like it's not super useful. Then two Dimensional Robo Dilander, or as some of you guys are calling it, Moe Lander. I think that's the shittiest name for it. If you really want to sound clever, say Dilolly. Or just, you know, don't be a disappointment to your parents. So its scale is pretty simple. Continuous, if your Vanguard's power is 30k or greater, your opponent cannot intercept. As, like, this can help in the mirror match, actually. As you saw with Miracle Dandy, you're intercepting, that would make 28k, 27k for shield. So the fact that you nullify their intercepts, or like, you know, if they have like a like an on-call card and it's, you know, it becomes a vanilla and then they've got another in hand, they think like, oh, well, I'll just intercept with the vanilla and then that'll open the space. But it's like, oh no, now you're actually just minusing. Like, that card isn't doing anything for you now. What was that? I heard like a bet. Okay, whatever. So, and I just run it a 2 of, because it's not like, it's not super useful. That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe drop I'll probably try dropping a Die Mariner for a Dilander, but at the moment, I think that 2 is perfectly fine. It's not necessary to see, but when you do see it, it's pretty helpful, but not, like, helpful that it, you know, drastically changes the outcome of the game. Again, the power you hit with this deck is, like, enough that maybe any deck that, like, doesn't draw an incredible amount of times will, like, struggle to get over. So moving on to triggers, we run the 4 crit. I picked Die Battles just because it's a Dimensional Robo and I want to fit that aesthetic. 4 heals, Dimensional Robo, Go Rescue. And then I said earlier, 8 draws. So 4 of them are the Perfect Guard, Diamond Ace. And then 4 are the regular draw trigger, Chill Penguin. I mean, Army Penguin, sorry. So that's the deck. Oh yeah, and then obviously, like, you know, oh, force markers, or as I thought they were called, Excel. I don't know, I just like Great Daiyusha, the basic one, and then the special one that you got that are like $10 now or something like that. So, alright, that's the video. This is all messy. I'm gonna clean this up. Yeah, so, you know, if you enjoyed the video, like, let us know. If you have any input, I'm definitely open for it. Oh, right, yeah, like, just, you know, there are other cards you can run for this deck. I kind of just remembered that Die Tiger is a thing. I'm personally not running it, though. But, if y'all want, here, I'll show that off. If y'all want to, like, give recommendations, or, if this deck helps you, you know, let us know. And, you know, hopefully soon you'll see some fights, provided we get on editing those. So, I'm out.